we had some track lighting in our over our island that I decided to replace, and I decided to make a new fixture that was kind of a takeoff of the one I had previously made for over a dining room table that resembled like sunflowers for my wife. So this time I decided I was going to try to incorporate some 3D printing in it. So I basically started with a profile of the other fixture there, and created some new lampshades. Now the first one I actually just printed this guy here half scale just to kind of get an idea of what it would look like, and went to Home Depot and picked up some threaded pipes and some lamp parts and some bulbs. I really like these warm glow 45 watt bulbs here. They're real nice warm light, and a couple other parts, and I ordered some actually globe holders on Amazon. So once I saw that the half scale printout there didn't look too bad, I decided to go ahead and start printing out the actual shades themselves. Now I need two of them here, and this is kind of just a little boring video about printing them, but they did take quite a long time to print, as you can see. I used a couple millimeter thick wall thickness, and there's at about 11 hours right there. So this was a multi-day job by the time it got done. But I used a couple millimeter thick wall thickness that probably I didn't need to do. They were at 21 hours. And, I was running it fairly slow because I really didn't want them to mess up. There's almost 24 hours right there. And so they did take over a day to actually do the printout. But they did actually come out really nice, I think. So this is the first one here. 26 hours. It's just about done now. It was, I think it was probably about 26 hours and 19 minutes it took to print the first one. So I got that done. Came out good. Looked nice. And I just pried that off the bed of the printer and started up on the second one. And, same thing. It was another 26 and a half hour print job by the time I got done, but it was fun. You don't have to watch it. I'd go to sleep and wake up every once in a while and take a little video and make sure it was still printing, and they did come out good. Then I wanted to make some of the green kind of like leaf parts. Had to print them out too, so I started printing them out, and they took a little while, but you can see how the printer actually, you make the parts hollow on the inside so you use less of the filament when you're making them. So you actually print down a layer on the bottom and around the outside edge, and then you just print a support to put that last couple of layers on the top. So this is the actual leaf part of it, and there you can see the start of the face layer is going on, and that's going to be I think it's 1.5 millimeters thick. I've got it set to be on this print. So it's kind of fun to watch this, and you really don't have to sit there and watch it. So you just start it up and let it go. So I think they were about 4 hours, and there's what they look like. And like I said, I bought some of those little lamp fixtures that hold a standard glass globe, and I decided to adapt them. That's what I measured them and 3D printed these parts to fit on them. So lamps like this could actually be made with any kind of parts that you can buy and put together. It doesn't have to be 3D printed or anything else. So here's the up on top. I needed a little cup to hide the wiring in, so I decided to print this cup out. And in the end, I got done. I'm not really super happy with the looks of it, so I think someday I'm gonna kind of draw up something that looks like a root and get some brown filament. I get a little more money together and print that out and replace the green one. But actually, it did come out good. The print came out fairly decent. And I think these took 10 or 11 hours each. So, you can see 3D printing is, it's a fairly slow process when you're trying to build up anything with any kind of a wall thickness. So, I got one of them done and then just went back and actually started printing the next one out too. And while they were printing out, I went downstairs and started working on a sign for it. And I started programming it up on my router and all of a sudden my computer monitor died on me, and in the middle of the job I got another smaller monitor to finish it, but as you can see, the programming itself there is not right. Those parts, the letters should be hollow. They should be cleared out hollow, and they should all be the same size. So this did not go well. I wound up, I just kept on going on. I don't know why, but I had to chisel out the all the pieces there that you see that were in there. And then I went back and I took some of the stencil dye that I use on these when you make a sign, and just sprayed some of the black stencil dye on it and let that, just sit and dry. And then I actually, don't ask me why, I just continued on with it, and instead of giving up, where I was, and I cut it out with the scroll saw. I've gotten a real lot of use out of that little Harbor Freight scroll saw. I've been real happy with it for the $69 I think it was that I paid for it, or $59 that I paid for it. It's been a real good addition to the shop. It's a lot handier than changing the blade on the bandsaw. And then I just, took this over and I just do my final rounding off on the big disc sander there, which is nice and easy to clean up. Radius is clean and, right down to the line. And then the last thing that you do is you just, once that ink is good and dry, you just take it, you run it through the joiner, and you take a pass off just to remove the ink so that you have a nice clean surface. And at this point you have to go real slow, because if you go fast you could tear out the little characters in between here and the little hollows and stuff like that. So you do that, and then I could really start seeing how bad it looks, how actually the program had messed up for the width of a lot of the letters too. So that turned into a mess, and then I went back and I drilled the holes for mounting it and stuff, and I still wasn't feeling real good about this at this point in time. And then I, got it all sanded and finished, and actually I took it upstairs to show my wife, and I was hoping she wouldn't notice anything about how bad it was, but first thing she said is, you got that wrong. It's supposed to be farm to table, not garden to table. And I'm like, thank God, now I have a reason to redo this. So back down in the shop, and this time I actually did pick up another monitor that was a slightly larger monitor, back to the size that I originally had, and made the programming real easy to do. And this sign actually did come out much better, and I did use the correct nomenclature on it this time. However, I did notice that I do have a one of the bearings in my X carriage seems to be starting to go. It's getting a little bit loose, and getting some lines that don't actually come out perfect when you make several passes to a depth. So I'm going to have to look at that. They did last a lot longer than I thought they would, so I probably have to rework some of the bearings this winter. So, here it is. I used a CNC router for this, but, it could be carved out, or, you could do it many other ways, too. I get a lot of complaints about my videos using CNC equipment, but, basically that's what I'm going to be using for the most part, so, that's what it is. And this time I actually decided to use a piece of cherry on it, because it'll turn a real bright red over time. So there it is. Lucky it didn't take too long. I mean, it was just some lettering in there, so that went quick. And same thing with the spray dye. That's really good stuff for when you want to make a sign or route anything, and have a good finish on the lettering. It's real easy to use, and it dries super quick. And then you just go back and take it to the joiner and clean the face off, like I showed you before. And it does come out pretty good. Now, if you don't have a joiner and you want to make a sign or something like this, I've actually used my belt sander also to clean off the surface. It just gets a little more dust and everything, where the joiner kind of keeps it, fairly clean. No fuzzy edges or anything. And I went back to the little jigsaw, the little scroll saw again there, and cut the radiuses on the outside of this piece. did the same thing, drilling the holes in it, and it's kind of like that movie Groundhog Day where I'm doing the same thing over again, but at least this time I got it right. And then just put some little 1/16 of an inch radiuses around the edge, just to, so there wouldn't be sharp edges, just to break them, and they feel a little better and they look a little softer that way. And really, I'm just trying to show you that it's really easy to just take some purchase lamp parts and then just make some modifications and additions to them, and put a little wood on them here and there, or make some little changes to them, and make your own lamps. It's real easy. So here I have to make a couple rounds to go up on the top there, and so this I decided instead of doing with a router, I do it by hand, just so everybody knows I still do some stuff by hand. So I just drew it out with a compass and then cut it out with a jigsaw. And these are also cherry, so they'll turn a real nice dark red over time. And I got the 2 blanks cut out, and then decided to drill a hole in the center of them just to help me get them centered on the lathe chuck. So I just took a small faceplate from my lathe and put some double-sided tape on it. And this I'm just going to use to stick the blank to. It's really easy to hold everything together with the double-sided tape, and a lot of times I'll just use the tape if I'm using a little bigger faceplate than this. But with the small one, I'm just going to stick it on there, and then I've got 2 real little tiny screws that I'm just going to stick in for safety's sake. Like I said, when I use the bigger faceplates, I'll just use double-sided tape a lot of times. So then that just screws on the lathe real easy. And I just have to put a long taper on the face of these, basically taper from about a 1/4 inch on the outside edge to a point or nothing in the center, just to kind of match the other light that I had already made. That's lathe is a fun job. It's just scrape the wood away and just watch it as it happens. So nice, relaxing, playing with a lathe. It's actually one of the most relaxing tools, I think. So I got that all shaped in the outside, cut the size and everything, and then, just go back and take some sandpaper and start with a coarser grit. Just work your way down and just sand everything, and then I had to go back and just open up that hole in the middle to make it the proper size to fit over that threaded lamp rod that I bought. So I think that was like a .406 hole I had to put in. The lamp rod was about a little bit over 3/8. So I drilled that, and then I just had to turn another one. So there's the second one starting. And then I had to go up and pull the old fixtures off the track light, because I needed the parts for hanging my new fixtures and the couple of contacts for wiring the new fixtures. And I actually had to drill some holes in the part there, you see. And you can see how it's going to go up in that cup there, and the wire is actually spin around and back out so I can wire them together. Then I wanted a kind of like a shaft in the middle to wrap with some different colored jute twine. So I had some old wheels that I took and a piece of heavy cardboard. Now these are just wheels for toys that you buy, and I just put them in the lathe. I put the 3-jaw chuck in, which makes it real easy to hold stuff like that, and then just took a Forstner bit and put a counter board in there that was the right size to fit over the cardboard tube. And then after I put all the counter boards in, I was able to go back and get a good measurement on the length required for the tubes. And this is one of those really super heavy little cardboard tubes. I don't know what it came from, but I just saved it for something someday, and this is that something. It actually cut really nice on the table, so I was surprised. It just cut real nice, clean, and no real tearing or anything else. So I should have a guard on there, but it was in the way, so I took it off. So you always have to be really super careful. So there's all the parts for my light fixture. Looks like a lot of parts, but there really aren't. It just it's just got to be assembled now. The the trickiest part is to just get the wiring up through and get the actual interfaces for the track lighting mounted in the right direction and everything. But that really is pretty simple if you study it. Plus, you have to make sure that the wiring is all grounded properly and whatnot. So I'm really not going to show you the wiring in it, but the fixtures themselves, right there, you can see that part have the brass piece in that actually hooks to the ground on the track lighting bar, and then you just have the hot and the neutral to worry about getting them right. And the neutral always goes to that outer ring on the bulb, and the hot goes to the center. So there they are, basically, everything put together except for the bottom light on, and just have to put a couple wire nuts on the wires there. And then the little nuts that come off the bottom of those lampshade holders. And I'm putting the 3D printed parts on, but like I said, there's thousands of different designs for glass shades that you can get. And doing the 3D printed parts, the only reason I'm able to use them is because I'm going with a low wattage LED bulb. Like if you put a 100-watt bulb up in here with these 3D printed shades, they probably would melt if you left them on too long. So the LEDs don't really generate that much heat, so that's why you can get away with them. But basically there it is. Just one more thing to do to it, and I had to go down to my dollar store and look for some jute twine to wrap around there. And actually I found that they had some natural coconut husk rope at the dollar store, and I bought 2 pieces of it. Turned out I only needed 1, but I thought it was pretty cool. It's kind of like a jute, but it's got a little bit more color. Now, I originally started playing with a cotton thread there, trying to figure out how many feet I'd need, but that really meant nothing in the end. So, I got everything here. I put double-sided tape on each of those pieces of cardboard. So I'm going to peel the backing off the outside of the tape, and I just wanted something to keep things in place while I was wrapping it. You got to get it really tight, and I had to trim back the one of the plies of it in the beginning there to get it started, and then just make sure that nothing's sticking out as you start wrapping it, and you keep everything kind of pressed down tight together. And what I did is I just wrapped it as tight as I could, and the double-sided tape you see there actually, did help keep it from springing out and springing back or anything. And then as I went along, I just kept pulling it, trying to stretch it, keep it tight. And the diameter of this stuff does vary. It's, a natural product, so it does get larger and smaller and stuff. So it can be a little tough to keep it going straight. But, in the end, it came out pretty good, I think. Then once I got everything all wrapped up on it on both ends, I just sort of went back and I put a drop of super glue around the wheel there where the rope met it on each end, just at the beginning of the rope, so it could never really come unraveled. So there's the first one done, and then I just went back and trimmed some of the hair off it, and you can see how this new camera actually focuses on my hair when I bend over there. It's just such a quick focus. It's unbelievable. But so then here's the second one too. So the light's basically all finished and ready to be installed now, which is a super easy job. And now I'm going to upload the files for the 3D printed parts to that thingiverse, and give a link to that here too if anybody would like to print them out. But basically this is more just to show you how easy it is to put together different parts just to make a lamp. And then it's really easy to mount it. You just have to line up those track interfaces and just give it a 90-degree turn, and they actually just lock in place, and all the electric connections are made. So one side went up, and just gotta turn it till it clicks. And now to get it out, you gotta reach over to the little green things and release the lock on it to turn it back. But it's real easy to mount, and then I just have to go back and remove that one light I had left there in the middle temporarily, and there it is. It's basically done, and I really like the glow of the shades and the color of them. That green on top is probably someday going to be like printed out like a root system, I think, in brown. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. And, I'm real happy the way it came out. And it was just a fun little project just to, try to mix together some plastic, some wood, some metal, some brass, and some rope. Really did get to, use a lot of different mediums on this one. And my wife approved of the final wording on it, so she's happy now. And all I have to do now is go back and switch out the dimmer switch. I've got the same problem I ran into before. I replaced 200 watts worth of halogen with 12 watts worth of LEDs, so the old style dimmer switches just kind of flicker, and they're not don't make real steady light. And hopefully this video will, just give you some ideas of how easy it is to, to change out a light, or, change out a fixture, or make something a little different out of some stock parts, or modify what you have. But, it was a fun little project that, it's kind of a unique light that you won't see anywhere else. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.